This is an update to a video that I posted yesterday. My speculation that all hell is going to break loose here in Minnesota as the temporary protected status for hundreds of Somali immigrants here in Minnesota is expiring on this day, March 17th, St. Patrick's Day. I did a little bit more digging as I was prepping for the show this morning because there still is no local news coverage over this. I found stories of when President Donald Trump moved forward to end the temporary protected status back in January when Minnesota was dominating the national news headlines over revelations that some 80 to 90% of the upwards of $19 billion in fraud was being committed by members of the Somali community. Well, it turns out that on Friday, I found one story where a former President Barack Obama appointed judge put in a temporary block to the expiration of the temporary protected status that again was supposed to start today. Now, what's ridiculous about this is the fact that the judge admits that one, it's temporary to allow the individuals who might be affected by this to get their affairs in order, but also acknowledges the fact that she's sticking her nose into an issue of which she shouldn't be sticking her nose into. In her ruling, she acknowledges that this is controversial. The truth of the matter is, it's just another example of Trump derangement syndrome. Why? Because if this judge actually cared about immigrants here in Minnesota, they would have put that temporary block in place a month and a half ago to allow Somali immigrants to go and deal with this. Now, there's a temporary block. This may help a few people, but what about the Somali immigrants here in Minnesota that may, out of fear of being deported, may have already self-deported? This judge doesn't care about the rule of law. They just care about thumbing their nose or putting up their middle finger to President Donald Trump. Eventually, this is going to go through, and wait, when it does and the deportations start, my other prediction will come true. This will more than likely be worse than Operation Metro Surge.
Hey guys, I'm in New York City for the weekend, but that doesn't mean the Minnesota updates stop. I've got 3 updates for you, all regarding judicial rulings. The first ruling is that a judge on Friday has postponed the ending of TPS for the Somali community here in Minnesota and across the country. This is great news. If you saw my March 12th update, you'll know that we were very worried about the actions of the Frozen Water Army and the ending of TPS for our Somali community. Now, this doesn't mean that we're out of the woods yet because litigation is ongoing, but I am hopeful.
I'm a proud Somali American. I appear before you today not just as a civil rights advocate, but as a witness. I'm here to testify to a sustained pattern of organized disinformation and targeted harassment against the Somali American community. We have witnessed and documented an organized, coordinated hate targeting Somali Americans marked by nearly identical language appearing across multiple online platforms within a compressed time frame. This activity originated and organized in MAGA online spaces, was designed, manufactured, fear to dehumanize an entire community. President Trump amplified and legitimized those narratives on social media, culminating in Christmas Day statements referring to Somali Americans as garbage. Words from a president of the United States are not symbolic. They authorize behavior. They normalize harassment. They escalate threats, and they lower the barrier to violence. My community, we are health workers, drivers, teachers, laborers, entrepreneurs, engineers, public servants. In fact, at the lowest number that ICE knows, 95% of our community are either lawful residents or U.S. citizens. In fact, 51% of our population are born here. Somali Americans do not belong here because of our economic productivity. We belong here because we are Americans. ICE enforcement targeting our community has been significant.
Major breaking news, guys. Somalians are suing Trump. And the Somalians in Minnesota literally tagged this as policy based on racist blah, blah, blah. Now, recall that Trump has literally been telling Somalians to go if you are illegal in the country, and at the same time, he is going to take their protective status, blah, blah, blah. And also record that I brought a video where Somalians were literally saying that America should give them reparation, and of which for me, that is a no-no, right? So right now, they went to Birdstone, I hope I'm pronouncing that well, and they are suing Trump. Remember that Somalians came into America when there was war in the 90s in their country, and America decided to help them as refugees and give them some parts to stay, which they dominated Minnesota mainly. And it got to a point, they started saying they are the ones that are doing the job for Americans. They started saying they owed Minnesota, that Minnesota was literally promised to them by their ancestors 3,000 to 4,000 years ago. It didn't only end there. They claim they were never black Americans, they were never black and they're Arabs. And what's made it the worst, that is American are not saying you must go, is the fact that their fraudulent attitude was not coming out. Everything was not revealing all the scams that they've done in Minnesota, right? And now Somalians, the same Somalians, are suing Trump. They are suing someone that is busy fighting war. God. What? Let me know what you think.
So the real question is, did this case change the conversation or expose deeper issues already in motion? Let's get into it. Original credit to creators whose video will be used for illustration and example. Let's watch more videos and I'll be right back.
Trump is scapegoating a tiny piece of the population, some of the most vulnerable people in our country. But Trump based his order on a report whose author has made it clear that his goal is to denaturalize and deport as many Somali Americans as possible. This is not about crime. It's not about safety. This is about purging people like me from this country. Minnesota has always been a welcoming place for people fleeing a home country that is blasted by war, poverty, and hunger. Europeans in the 19th and 20th century, Black Americans from the South, Hmong and Vietnamese, Liberians and East Africans and Latin Americans. This embrace of new culture is one of our greatest strengths. The first generation came here as immigrants, the second as Americans. They are our teachers, nurses, blue-collar workers, small business owners, and public servants. Donald Trump wants to make Americans hate each other over race and religion. That might play well on Truth Social or Fox News, but it's not going to work here in real life.
So it seems like deportations to third countries will continue. A federal appeals court has temporarily allowed the Trump administration to continue deporting certain migrants to third countries while a legal challenge proceeds. The ruling came across the U.S. Court of Appeals for the First Circuit, which stayed a lower court's decision that blocked the policy. This means the Department of Homeland Security can continue deportations to countries other than a migrant's country of origin. For example, let's say a country will not take back the migrant that illegally migrated to our country.
Courtroom battles often go beyond legal argument. They shape public opinion and future policy discussions. Moments like this remind us how important it is to understand both the legal side and the human impact behind the cases. At the end of the day, it is not just about who wins. It's about what changes moving forward. Here at Global Info with T, we focus on the bigger picture behind the headlines. If you value clear, balanced commentary, subscribe, share your thoughts respectfully, and stay informed. This video is intended for commentary purposes, analysis, and educational discussion purposes only. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in my next video.